So, Bigwood, I'll let you start off. Just how are you? How is everything?
Yeah, good, mate.
Yeah, all good. Been up to much?
Just been for a run this morning. Just training for the Great South Run, so yeah, trying to get the miles in.
All prepped?
No.
When's that? How long?
4 weeks tomorrow, I think. Signed up 2 weeks ago.
I was about to say 2 weeks training. How many runs you done now in them 2 weeks?
Probably about 5.
Of course you have.
Here we go, fat jokes already.
So, well, I'll let you strip it back. Obviously, I've known you for a couple of years now. But I'd like to pretty much dive in, get the full story. So, what was your childhood like? Talk me about growing up, family, how was it all?
Childhood is always pretty good, to be honest. Like growing up, I don't think I ever sort of went without. Was born in Liverpool, moved down to Portsmouth when I was probably about 9, 10, probably even a little bit younger. Then when I moved down here, got picked up by Portsmouth, and then that was pretty much like my childhood then till I was like sort of 15. So I had a good relationship like with my dad, but that was purely probably just through football. And then that was it. Then it was like, that's what I wanted to do, was be a footballer. But obviously then I think like mentally, I think looking back now, that was probably like the start of everything for me. But when you're so young, you don't really like realise it. Like,
No.
Yeah, you think you want to, football, I loved that probably more than like anything. But at the time I didn't. I used to hate it, absolutely hate it. Like just the pressure, like the relationship I had with my dad. And then after that, like when my mum and dad split up, I then got released. And then that was pretty much then didn't have a relationship with my dad. It was then just my mum. But yeah, I can't really complain really. I never really had like anything that would cause, anything like mentally anyway, like through my childhood. So
It's funny you say that because when I was younger, when I was at Southampton, when you talk about the pressure side of things.
You played for Southampton?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But I was 8 and I'd done
That's a podcast exclusive there, isn't it?
I'd done my 6 week development like trial program thing. And then they offered me, I think it was 6 months. But if I'd signed it, then I wouldn't be able to play on the Sunday with my friends.
Right.
And I remember I was playing Plymouth at home in the Championship. And we was going to go to the game, like VIP, sign our contracts there. And my mum said, well, do you want to do it? And I was only like 8 or 9. I turned around and said, no, I want to play with my friends.
Yeah.
Didn't sign it.
No.
And then didn't play. I carried on playing with my friends, went to Portsmouth. And then they was going through the money trouble. Whether that was a factor behind it, I don't know. But they didn't sign me because I had asthma.
Really?
Yeah, because I had asthma. And then, like you saying, then look at that age, I just fell out of love with football. But I think looking back, like you say, I think you don't really think about that you lose the passion for it, don't you?
It was bizarre. Like it was everything I wanted before that. So like going to tournaments, like playing for like Whitbrook and like teams like that. You go to these tournaments and you'd know the scouts there, and then that's all you ever wanted was to be picked up. And then you get picked up, you get the contracts, and then you're in. And I was there for like years, and they obviously rated me, but I would like tell myself, I'd be like, why do they even like? I'm shit. Like,
especially when you compare yourself to some of the kids out there.
Yeah. Like I always sort of like I never expressed myself. I was very sort of, if I looked back, like now, like what I tell myself is just like express yourself more, just enjoy it. Like it's a game of football at the end of the day. Like it wasn't even for anything like important back then. I just like get the ball, give it. I wouldn't do anything to sort of express myself. And I think it's just like the pressure and anxiety. And I used to sit there. So our games used to be on a Sunday, and would have like a voicemail service on like a Friday. So if the weather was a bit ropey over the weekend, they'll tell you if the game's on or off. So you just phone this number, go straight to voicemail, and the manager at the time it would be like, right, the game's on or off. And I remember I'd go and sit in the toilet and like phone and like pray it would be off. It's mental, isn't it? Just because I couldn't deal with it. But then like I knew if the game was on, I couldn't eat. My dad would force me to eat. I'd be sick in the mornings. This is all like as like a 10, 11-year-old kid. It's just like you get there and all these lads are like buzzing to play football, and I couldn't think of anything worse.
So what age was that? What age did that all come to?
That was probably like sort of 10 or 11.
When you stopped?
No. I went right through till when was it? Probably like 15, 16 years old. Because then like the group that I was with was like Ash Harris and Sam Magri, Dan Butler. Like they, obviously Ash Harris went on to like actually play in the first team and stuff. So they sort of went on. It was, because I'd been there a while, it wasn't like you're gone, get out, you're released. It was, look, you're obviously not enjoying your football at the moment. The ability's there, but the mental side and your attitude, like your attitude's fine. Like you're always there, you always train hard, everything like that. It was never like an attitude problem. It was just that obviously to get to that next step, you need to start expressing yourself and stand out. So they said, go away, go and enjoy your football, come back in a few months' time, and you basically go for like retrials and stuff. And I never went back.
I think, well, yeah, I suppose at 15, 16 is completely different to what I had at 9, 10. Because then you're sort of at the age, aren't you, where you're starting to make your future life decisions in terms of like what you want to do after school, work-wise.
I just wanted to play with my mates. I just went to go and play at Bosom with my mates, like from school, and it wasn't the best standard, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. And then I went for like a trial with Bournemouth, and I just didn't enjoy it. And I don't know, do I regret it? Maybe a little bit. Not to say that I was ever going to go on and play football at a higher level or something, but you know, maybe it would have been something that
well, it's the what if, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't sort of look back at that and think I regret it, because I don't, you know, I stand by the decisions I made, and at the time I don't think I was at the age to sort of understand it. So yeah. Do
you think some part of you, in terms of like at that age, 15, 16, and like the couple of years before and building up, where you didn't enjoy it, do you reckon it was like anxiety?
Yeah.
Of like the stage.
And I've only really sort of realised that, and probably deep dived into that like since being with United Minds, because I've always been like a really like worrying person, and like probably anxious and anxiety, and I've never really understood it. And then being involved in this group, I got involved for other reasons, but then it's opened my mind to other stuff to then try and deal with that and understand my past a little bit more. But yeah, absolutely. I just don't think, you know, I know people get nervous and stuff, and they say like nerves is a good thing, but you know, to be like literally making yourself sick before games and stuff like that, it's not right, is it? So
talking about you, going back to your family quickly. So obviously you sound like you didn't really have a relationship with your dad after the split. So it's you obviously your mum and dad, and then sister. You got a sister. Yes.
There we go.
So what's your relationship with your sister? You seem quite close from what I've seen recently.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say we're like close, but yeah, like close enough. It's So yeah, she's obviously, we had to go through like everything together. Like, you know, 1 minute your dad's there and then not, and then you go through the whole stepdad phase, and then you've got to try and get your head around that. And as a teenager growing up, so it's Did
you feel you had to step up in terms of like be the man of the house? Or did you never really?
A little bit, not so much. Like when you're younger, like if you've got siblings and that, you don't. You just want to annoy your sister anyway. It's normally like wrestling matches and stuff like that.
To be fair, I'll do it to mine. I don't think they really like me.
She's quite a strong character though, to be fair. So like she's very like independent and always like sort of being that. She doesn't really need like anyone to do that. And my mum, the same, like considering like what happened, like with everything with my dad, like football, like she'd give up everything, like take me to football, like do all of that. And then to like raise me and my sister after that point, because my sister's, she's only 21 now, so she was quite young when it all happened. So then to keep us both on the straight and narrow, to, you know, I'm not saying like I've got a decent job, like my family now, like my sister's doing well for herself, like PT. So like my mum's been like good as gold, to be honest, like everything, to be fair, because there's a lot of people out there that sort of can use that as a reason then to spiral out of control, really. And
because when like my mum and dad split when we was younger, obviously there's only my sister Taylor, she's a year older than me, than Brooks, 3 years older than her. And when my mum and dad split, we sort of went the complete opposite way. It might have been because of the way they split up, but we like went through having nothing. We went to like 9 different places within a year. I think it was like 5 or 6 different places. We had nothing. Like we could just about get enough money to get a bus to school.
Yeah. And then, she was a lot closer to my dad than I was afterwards, because like the football had happened, like I got released, and I think like looking back, we only really connected through that. And then he was like one that if we went to Asda, I'd have to wear like my tracksuit to show me off and stuff like that. So I think then once that got taken away, we didn't really like I'd go and see him, but I was at that age then when I wanted to go and start seeing my mates and like go and play football and stuff. Whereas she was younger, so she had more of that sort of relationship.
The thing is with that age, I think it's you ain't really got the capability of to pick up the phone and ring them.
No,
at that age, you just learn to crack on. I think so. We sort of dealt with it. So obviously, you said about football and sort of the impact that had on you, in terms of it was your life for years, and then, sort of got taken away, or you took it away from yourself. At what point would you say that you started to really know that your mental health had took a hit, or started to?
When I knew it was like an issue, that's when I got involved in United Minds. So I didn't get involved. It was sort of just happened like naturally at the start. With like the history of how like Pete basically opened up on the live stream, and I just reached out and said like, that was amazing, like well done for doing that. And then we just got chatting, and he was probably like the first person that I sort of mentioned it to, really. Like we were still going through the IVF sort of stage, probably still going on. And I think I'd only really probably admitted to myself during that period of going through IVF, really. Like that was the moment that I then got involved and then started to talk. And then like me and George Hill, we'd never like mates at that point, but they were very open about their IVF journey.
Because we'll come to it, but because obviously Vienna and Eddie, they're close ages, are they?
She's only just turned 1 and Eddie's 3 in November. So we actually had ours like before, so they were still going through. So we would always sort of like connect on Facebook through that, because they were very open about their journey, whereas like we were quite a bit more reserved about ours. So like we'd talk and stuff, and I know his struggles, and he would be quite open about his on Facebook, and I just suppressed mine. And I think the moment that I really knew I was struggling was the first round. I mean, the build up to it always is pretty like shit, to be honest, as a man. Like the only thing that you want to give back to your wife is a child, and you can't do that. And you just feel useless. Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to go through all these tests, and you have to speak to these people about like your sperm and all that. Do you know what I mean? It's just like so, and you see everyone else that it just happens naturally. Yeah, it's horrible, mate. Like absolutely horrible. And you see your wife just there, like you're just helpless. Like every month, it's like she's a couple of days late. You get excited, and then it doesn't happen, and you're just sat there, and all these little triggers would just keep going and building up. And then we went through the process of IVF, and then that was like a bit of a high, because then you get your hopes up. We did the first round. It was brutal on my wife, like the stuff they have to go through, like through IVF. And then we actually got a positive result. So I'll never forget it. We woke up at like 5 a.m, because you have to do it in the morning, which is like for like the strongest possible chance for the test and stuff. Did it. I remember I was like sat outside her bathroom door, like waiting. And she come out and she was buzzing, and it happened. And it was like, you just felt everything sort of lift off straight away. And we were so, because we've been trying for like 3 years, that was it. We went, like her mum and dad literally around the corner, 5 o'clock in the morning, we sprinted around their house. We told everyone. My mum was on holiday at the time, like phoned her up, like everyone was buzzing, like told the whole family. And then, so basically if you get pregnant, you've then got to go for a blood test to check your hormone levels and stuff. Yeah. And I never forget it. We went down Port Sunderland, we were having a meal. We were on our way to Southampton to get the blood test, because if you tell them you're pregnant, they call you in. And we were sat there, and something just came over. I'm a worrier anyway. And something just came over me all of a sudden. And I was just like, the test, it was very faint. It was like, she was pregnant. Yeah. It was very faint. And I was just like, so why was it faint? And we just started talking, and she was like, oh, I don't know. And then I started Googling, like I do with everything. And then we almost sort of like didn't say it to each other, but we knew it wasn't. Just didn't want to say it. Yeah. And then we went for the blood test, and then literally I got the phone call, and it was like a chemical pregnancy. And it was just like, it was brutal, mate. Absolutely brutal. So when you're going through IVF, the woman's like pumped up with so many drugs and chemicals inside her body. that's I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a level in your hormones is what creates the positive test, so you're not actually pregnant. So basically, yeah. So then having to then go back and tell mums after being through that journey, that bit
was tough.
That done me in, and I just, everything went out the window. Really, just like mentally, just wasn't myself. Just like it was horrible, like dark times sort of thing.
At that point, would you say, because of how draining it was, like you had the high and then you had to, obviously you found out that it wasn't the news that you wanted. Then having to go back and tell people, look.
That was like the hardest bit, because they'd been on the journey with us.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of them wanted wanted just as much of us. Yeah, because we were the first one. Yeah, exactly. So it was that, and then you sort of sit back and you think, like, you blame yourself and you think, like, why has this happened to me? Or, like, why is she even with me still? Like, is it my fault? And all this sort of stuff. And it's just horrible. And then you sort of just got to go on with your life and just, it's fine, that happened, move on. Like, honestly, like, we did 2 rounds, like, the second round was successful. I honestly don't know how George did it. I don't know how he did 10 rounds. And I take my hat off to him, because it was brutal. Huh?
I think it was 11.
Was it 11?
Well, that's what I put in the title of the podcast we've done, so...
Sounds horrible, doesn't it? But I almost lost count in a way. Like, I don't know how they both did it.
That's what I remember when I was talking to him, and obviously I knew a bit about the story.
Yeah.
But when I was actually sat talking to him, after that one, I actually sat there for a minute and thought, how on earth did you manage to do that? With the resilience that they must have.
And they were like quite like relentless with it. Like it'd be a negative and they'd be straight back on it. Like, we took a bit of time out after the first one. That's what I was going to say. After that,
I didn't know how many rounds until you just said 2, but I was going to say, so after that first one, did you have a moment where you both sat and thought, I don't really want to go through that again?
Yeah, you obviously then that feeling and you don't want that feeling again. So we sort of said, like, I think we found out it was just coming up to like Christmas time, and I booked for us to go to Disneyland Paris, and I just said, look, let's go away, enjoy Christmas, and then let's look at it next year, sort of thing, because we had like frozen eggs basically, so we could keep going through it. So just took that decision, and then luckily, like, the frozen cycle is so much easier on the woman. It's still not nice, but like, you don't have to do any operations or anything like that, and it's a lot easier on them. So it was nice doing that, and then it happened. But like, when the moment that I sort of knew that I still wasn't right was when Eddie was born. Like, it still didn't. I was probably at one of my lowest points then, and it didn't make sense to me, and it still doesn't make sense to me to this day. I'm starting to find out why now, but like my wife, it was a horrible birth. Like, seeing my wife go through that, like, done me in like big time. It made me feel like vulnerable.
Because you can't do nothing.
Yeah, like, she was sat in theatre. She had to go to emergency theatre, and she lost like loads of blood. You're going through this experience together. You want it, like, it just felt like nothing would, like, we couldn't even have like the surprise of a pregnancy, doing it natural. Couldn't tell the family. Like, everyone knew every step that we were doing with the IVF.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't even like give birth normally. It just felt like everything was going against like what we wanted, sort of thing. And then that happened in theatre, and Eddie came out, and then that was it. Like, Eddie just got put in my arms, and then she was like, I remember the doctor saying to me, like, you just need to like keep him like here for like, I don't even know how long it was, but she was like not in a good place. She was high as a kite. She didn't know what was going on. So she's like looking at me, and I'm having to like, act like this is the best thing in the world.
Face, but inside.
And the doctors are like rushing around, and then there was like 8 doctors around her. Like, she's lost all this blood, and I'm like, I've literally got a newborn baby in my hands. I don't even know what I'm doing. She's there. It was like mental, and that affected me massively, like, afterwards, like, big time.
So, obviously, Eddie's here.
Yeah.
Eddie's good as gold.
Yeah.
Cute. Obviously, I see him last weekend at the event. And like you say, he's free now. What's the 3 years been like? So, obviously, after she was in the emergency theatre, obviously, I assume she was all right.
Yeah.
After. What was it like then when you knew that everything was all right? In terms of, ready to go home.
Don't get me wrong, it's still the best thing. What everyone says about kids is true.
Like them moments.
It made me feel like so vulnerable that if something happened to her, like, what would I do?
Yeah.
Mums are amazing. Like, she is. I don't like, honestly, like, if you ever get to experience kids, like, mums are just like the best. Like, she's so good at it. It's unbelievable. And like, if something happened to her, like, what would I do? I don't like. Of course, I could do it. I love him more than anything. But like, she just does it like in her stride and makes it look easy. She's got that mum instinct in her, and like, it just made me feel very like vulnerable. And if something happened to her, and I think kids do that, and I think that's just what is like when I came to that first talk night, and I talked about things that I'd never spoken about, and I've always had it all my life. Is just, it hits you harder when you have kids, that you've got something to live for, and you don't want anything to happen to you. You know, you don't want to be taken away from that situation and something for Eddie. So that's what probably brought on and heightens these like vulnerabilities in my mind of like these stupid thoughts. And you've heard it at the talk nights and stuff, and it doesn't make sense. And I've met someone in the group now that's actually like got the same mindset as me, and it makes me feel like so much better knowing that there is someone else out there that's like that. So
now you touched on it, you know your minds then. So obviously you're on the board. Obviously we've known each other the last couple of years. Played in that first game together.
Yeah, you scored, didn't you?
I scored, didn't I? Yeah. I had a full head of hair at that point as well. So talk to me about your minds. So the people that maybe don't know, from your perspective, what is United Mind?
So it started off as, like you say, like Pete and Cal, so Pete Lockyer, Cal Soper, did a live stream, opened up about their troubles, and then I think because of the outpour and the support they got from it, they were like, hang on, there's something in this. So did the football game that we were involved in, was like 21 October, it's coming up, isn't it, the anniversary, actually, October 21, at Portchester. I think we only had probably about 10 lads in the squad that actually shared their stories.
We had a couple that...
And we had to then fill the squad with other lads that sort of just wanted support, really. And I remember we all sort of shared our stories of what our struggles were, made ourselves vulnerable, and it was like something completely new that like no one really did this sort of thing.
No, I remember when I turned up, and I was sure I'd only been 20 at the time, and I was nervous.
Yeah,
I felt so sick.
Yeah, because I remember when I put my story out there, I just turned my phone off because you have that element, don't you, where you like, I didn't really understand it, mental health.
So you just chucked it out and just shut the door.
What you don't want to do is look like you're attention seeking.
No,
and it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
I think that's a common thing with nowadays. I think that's how some people. I think that's how some people feel now. The people that are struggling now that haven't said about it, I think that does play an element into it.
Well, you don't want to. You're just doing it for likes and shares and stuff like that. And I remember just turning my phone off. I went for a walk. I came back an hour later, and my phone was going mental with like people reaching out, and I just felt so good from that moment. I was still nervous, and I hated that feeling of like putting myself out there like that. But then the game, playing, the dressing room, like it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it, and it was like something I knew walking away from that. I was like, I just need to stay involved in this. Like this is something like good. Like we've got something good here.
Because it's been, was it 21?
Yeah, October 21 was the first game,
it'd be the third year this year,
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
So, obviously, you're on the board. We're both on the board. What's there, 7 of us? Is it 7?
8 with Aaron now, isn't it?
Yeah, 8. So, obviously, we've seen it grow.
Yeah.
So...
With the OGs.
How would you describe what United Minds is to someone who doesn't know what it is?
So I think people from the outside, like looking in, can sometimes probably just think it's a football group because we've done a lot of football events. It's so much more than that now. I think the last probably 12 months, we've nothing against the other lads that were involved previously. I think it just grew bigger than what they expected. And I think since like we've sort of taken it from that point in the last 12 months, it's grown into... Easiest way to say it, it's like a community really, where lads can just literally get involved at whatever level. So we've got the general chat group, we've got the football chat group, we do kickabouts on a Tuesday, we do football, we've got golf coming up tomorrow, we like hopefully doing Snowdon again, we go for walks. go for, like do talk nights twice a month. There's so much there, and I think like new lads coming in now, you just get like it's that group chat vibe. If anyone's struggling, you just pop a message in there. You're not judged. No one like takes the mick out of you. No one says you're attention seeking. There's so many lads in there now that can sort of reach out to each other because they've been through similar situations, and that's what's like so good about it, because you're not on your own. Like I thought I was on my own about my sort of like mental insecurities about like thinking I'm going to die all the time, and then I won't say his name, he might not want me to say it, but there's someone else in the group now that we've connected and we're actually like really close through it, and it's mental. We've only known each other like 2 months, and it just anyone that puts something in that group, there's someone in there that can help and that's been through it. And I think I don't think you can find that anywhere else. And I think that's what like United Minds is now. It's so much more than the events and stuff. It's a safe place to go for lads to open up, talk. People that it's just mental. Like some of the lads that are in that group now, like I've always like when I was growing up, I wouldn't say I was like the popular kid. Because I played football, I played for like I was always.
Was you one of those that was allowed to leave class early?
Yeah. But I wasn't one of them kids like at the bike sheds with the Helly Hansen coats, like Henry Lloyd, like popular. I knew them and they got on with them. I was sort of like just below that with my mates and stuff. So I look at some of the lads in the group now and I'm like, I would never be mates with you just because like I'm quite not a shy character, but I'm not like a laddie lad. Do you know what I mean? Stone Island, like goozers and all that. Do you know what I mean? Like you.
I knew that was coming.
No, not like I don't mean that in the horrible way.
No,
like Nick Jordan. If I was to go into a pub, I love him to bits.
Loud.
He's intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like but I think that's what's so good. It just connects the most random people and you just get the best sort of friendships and relationships through it. And to be honest, I think they're the best ones because so many lads in that group have gone, I've never spoken to my friends or family about this. My closest friends don't even know this. Are they actually your friends if you've not experienced them things with them?
Yeah, I agree.
And if you've not spoken to them and being yourself, you're always like hiding it. And I think you experienced that obviously when you went sober and stuff, that you start to realise who's actually real in your life. And I've got a couple of like really, really good mates that will be my mates for life. Apart from that, some of my best mates now are in United Minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you're saying, when I remember because like my closest mates at the time, I was like, look, I was just straight out. I said, I won't be coming out. I'm doing this for myself with what's going on. Didn't hear from them for about half a year. Still haven't some of them. And at first I was a bit like, you're a prick, mate. But then I thought, do you know what? Thanks for that. I'm glad you didn't reach out actually, because now I've realised just who I want to be around and the sort of people I want to be around. Yeah. And with United Minds, what I love as well, and what got to me was the other day with the banners. Yeah. I think that was a great touch. I'll let you touch on that. You sort of. It's just there's things in that happen in that group that like it just surprise me every day. Like the way that the lads go about their stuff and what they buy into it. You know, you get lads that come and go that might not want to open up. Like we've got lads in there that can't keep up with the group chat, but they read it every morning and they just say, please keep me involved. I can't keep up with the group chat, but it puts a smile on my face every morning. Everyone puts their wins in there. And a couple of weeks ago, he's exposed his story, so I'm not telling him, I'm not sort of saying anything that he wouldn't want to hear, but the football every Tuesday night, afterwards, Tyler Wiggins just came up to a couple of us after and just said, look, it's coming up to Suicide Awareness Day on Sunday, which was last week, wasn't it? Last Sunday. One just gone. Yeah. And it was like almost like it had been 10 months since Tyler basically stood at Bedhampton Bridge, actually sat on the bridge and basically tried to kill himself. And he was stopped, like thankfully, by the police. And he just said, I'd really like to do something for Sunday. I want to get some banners made up, United Minds, maybe just with a bit of a quote on there, and just go around all the local bridges in Portsmouth and put them out. And hopefully we can, even if one person reads that and that thought goes out of their mind, like it's job well done. And he paid and sponsored for that himself. Didn't want any credit for it. Didn't want any like business on it. It was purely just
do the banners and put them up, and it was like emotional. It was,
that's what I mean.
Sat there and like his story when he like spoke about it. We were top of that bridge, knowing that he was there 10 months before that, and like the man that he is now. Like I've only known him; he's only been in the group probably a couple of months. Like it's brilliant. Like stuff like that is just amazing.
And I think it's important to talk about that as well, because it shows as well that, like you're saying, 10 months ago he was on that bridge, wanting to end his life. And now he's doing things to encourage people to see that even in 10 months, which I think for a mental health journey is quite a short period of time.
Yeah.
It can show that, you know what, with the resilience and by being that vulnerable person and open up about your struggles, look at what you can do. You can actually use that as strength and power to help someone else.
Yeah, and he said being involved in the group has shown him that. We're not
professionals.
No, we're not professionals, and we're not the only reason that's happened, because you as a person have to want to change yourself, and it's easier said than done when you're in that dark place. So I get that, and I know that, but unless you talk and you reach out and you make yourself vulnerable, you're never going to know. And we're not asking you to come in the group and you have to put, there's no rules of like you have to put a message in there every day and do this and that, and you don't have to come in and open up and share your struggles, but to know that you're in a group that if you need anything, like I've been on the phone to lads at like 1 o'clock in the morning where it was one couple of weeks ago where I woke up in the morning and there was like a chat going on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Someone was like in a bad place, and there was lads that weren't even like at a board level reaching out to this fella, like making sure he's all right and calmed him down. You wake up in the morning, it's like, that's what we do it for. And it gets frustrating, you know what it's like. Well, like the board group. And
there's over 100 people in there, 100 blokes that are in some of them chats. And I think some days I pay more attention to that than I do work.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you feel guilty for not reading it sometimes.
And I don't mind, because that's what it's there for, and that's what it should be used for. Is an outlet and a release to lads go and have chats. Do it.
Yeah.
Fucking, I don't mind.
And I think like
I'll put my phone on silent for the day.
The Tyler situation, like Darren's brother, when you actually like when he put that poster up on the tree that is like his brother then took his life, it's like, that's what we do it for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It puts it like it makes sense now. Do you know what I mean? Them bad days where the group's going mental, everyone's moaning about football, being in the squad, what time we got to be there, like, and you're just like, this is why we do it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just think for anyone, just reach out. There's plenty of us there. The socials, the Instagram, the podcast. If you want to listen to this and then get involved through that, it would be one of the best things you do if you feel like you don't want to go and see a counsellor or you don't want to go and speak to your family. Like everything that happens in that group and talked about stays in that group unless you want to obviously share it yourself. So
I think you're right in what you say, because when I've done therapy and counselling, I found it tough because obviously it's nothing against them, but I felt judged because it was their job as such, and it's their profession, and they're sat there with, their paper and their pens, and they're asking you all these questions. Whereas when you go in the group and you're vulnerable, it's like instead of someone going to you like a therapy or counsellor, where they go, "Oh, so why do you feel like this?" Whereas in the group, you're going to get someone that goes, "Mate, I'll go through this. Is that fucking same?"
Yeah.
And then it's like, bang. Yeah. And then that's it. And then you just take it away.
Try this. Let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Let's go and have a chat. So it's so good for that.
Mother's Day and Father's Day gets to me as well. I haven't lost either parent, but when we had it I think it was Mother's Day, and a few of the lads had got together, didn't they, and went for a walk. And I think things like that, you think, usually if someone's bereaved their either parent, they struggle on them days, they feel alone, and they don't want to do nothing, whereas they seem to have just pulled each other out and gone, no, come on, we'll do something, let's just get together.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The group's so much more than what people see on the socials sometimes, like the ideas that people come up with, and it's not always like the board group's ideas. Like it's completely like it's everyone's group. It's not our group. The board's only there to drive it forward and to grow it as big as we can, but every single member of that group chat has got an open say. Like if you want to do something, like do it. Like if it's the best for the group and it's going to help lads, then that's what it's there for. So
yeah, if you want to get involved, or if you're someone struggling and you feel like you want to reach out, I'll put all the socials in our description for you to go on to. Big was on social media. I'm on social media. Be here. Jack, can you do that? Can you put it
Just
here?
drop him in, mate.
And then we're on social media as well. So even if you don't want to reach out to the page itself, get in touch with one of us, because we'll have a chat with you. I don't mind. I can talk to you for days. That's what exactly I do this podcast, is because I like talking. And I don't need a beer to do that. I don't have to be pissed out, which is a wonderful thing. So with you then, you touched on it briefly. We're going to dive into it. So the thoughts of you dying, talk to me about it.
Yeah, it's just mental. Like, even since a kid, the earliest memory I had of it, I must have been about 9 years old. And I don't remember if I actually said this publicly. I wouldn't go to the bathroom. I'd have like a giant bottle in my bedroom and I'd go for a wee in it because there'd be bleach on the toilet.
Didn't drink it, did you?
No.
Oh, sorry then.
So like, obviously, like, you go in your bathroom, like your mum might put bleach on top of the toilet or something for cleaning or whatever. And obviously on the back of the bottle, it'd have like these hazards on it, wouldn't it? Like, you're gonna die if you drink it. And I'd have this theory in my head of, even if it touched me, I'm gonna die. So like, that's how, and I've always had that in my life. And no matter what, it would come in waves of like, I could go 6 months and I'll be absolutely fine, and it'll pass. And then, but I'm one of them people, like, I'll have a cough and I'll be like, all right, I've got throat cancer. How long have I got left to live? Do you know what I mean? And I've never, it does my wife's head in, honestly. Like, she like doesn't take the mick out of me, but she's like,
because she doesn't.
Yeah, she's like, your doctor's going to be like your best mate in a minute. Do you know what I mean? Like, this year's been mental, and I think it happens more when I'm stressed and I've got a lot of stuff going on. And this year's like just been mental with like other stuff. And I had like COVID, then I had like a ear infection, I had throat infection, I had tonsillitis. But then like I've gone to the doctors about, like, I've had a pain in my chest and I've had like a pain down here. So I've got like a hernia in here, and I'm like, well, is it actually a hernia or have I got bowel cancer? Someone put on Facebook the other day, is a year older than me. He's just gone through testicle cancer, and he didn't say anything about it. He's fine. He's recovered now. And I'm like, stood in the shower. I'm like, oh, is that a lump? And then I'm on the phone to the doctors, like, is this normal? And it's exhausting. And I can't put my finger on it of why it happens, why I think like that, why I'm so morbid. I don't want to die. And that's like, I feel guilty sometimes when I'm in the groups and there's lads, like the fella on Friday, like, to be in that mental state to climb something. And, a little bit like Tyler, I couldn't get to that point. I don't want to die.
Yeah,
and
I'll get what you're saying.
I want to be here for Eddie, and I want to be here for my wife. And I think it's heightened since Eddie's been here, big time, that, any little thing now I worry about big time, and I think I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is. I've gone through this year, I've been like, I'll go to bed, I'd have panic attacks in bed, because I don't know, like, I have this wave of anxiety that will come over about my health and things like this. And it started to get better because I've spoken to someone that's in the group that honestly, it's like for like in terms of what we've experienced. And I think knowing that I've never spoke to anyone about it apart from my wife, because I just thought, you're nuts. You're absolutely nuts. Like,
what I will do, actually, I'm going to advise people here, if Bigwood's ill, don't try and speak to him, because he's the most miserable bastard you will ever meet. Because
and you haven't been this week when you had a bit of a...
We're talking about you here, Bigwood. But he's bit my head off more times than that because I asked him if he wants a nice Costa. That was it. And he bit my head off.
When was that?
You know when it was. So, anyway, now I've had my little rant. Yeah, if he's ill, don't speak to him. Or if you don't know he's ill, you'll find out he's ill.
Oh, well, like you this week.
Yeah, like me.
Can you post this on social media? Oh, I'm in bed, mate. I'm dead.
I was really rough. I was really, really ill, and I felt terrible. I couldn't even move.
It was right to have a bit of party food in the garden, though, wouldn't you?
Party food in the garden? Oh, yeah, of course. Well, the missus cooked that. That was lovely. No, babe, thank you. Yeah, so, right, okay. So what is if someone's struggling, because the reason I do this podcast is for, if men out there, someone could be watching this that is going through something where they think, you know what, I don't feel right. I feel like something's going on inside my mind where I'm having these dark thoughts. I'm in a dark place. Like you say, you haven't been in that position where you wanted to die, so it's probably difficult. But from being someone who's within the group, you've seen the positive effects of people speaking openly about it every day. What would be your advice to someone that is struggling right now?
I'd say if you don't, I've never got professional help. I never really felt like I needed it. I probably do, if I'm honest. Like, I don't think my mindset with that stuff is normal, but it's nothing to say there's anything against professional help. But some people feel like they don't want to go to that step, so then they feel like there's nothing in between. I think the UK at the moment has got a big problem with that. I would say get yourself involved in the group. If you feel like you don't want to put your message out there to over 100 lads, I completely get that. There's certain individuals that you'll probably know within the group, I would imagine.
That's what I found surprising as well. It's just
everyone's linked in some form or way. I would reach out to someone individually in that group. I mean, George Hill is probably like the perfect example. He knows everyone. Do you know what I mean? And just talk to them about what you're going through. It doesn't have to be shared. There's been a few lads in that situation that have done that. It might then be someone in the group that we can say, have a chat with them because they've gone through exactly the same thing. And I had that when we went for that walk. We started like a walk on a Sunday. It only happened once because Connor Robinson organised it, events manager. Yeah, shock, gone missing again. And I only went to support Connor.
Yeah.
And I won't say his name because he'll probably do me in. He's bigger than me. But there was a lad there.
Most people are bigger than you.
Yeah. There was a fella there, and I'd never met him before. He came to the Tuesday night football before, but you don't really talk to anyone. You don't have time. You're sort of in your groups and whatever. And we just got chatting, and we have exactly the same issues with like the dying situation. Like he's exactly the same as me, and it was just mental. We sat there, walked for an hour, talked. That's all we talked about. And that, I think, like, you're never gonna. I don't think you can go on the internet or pick up the phone or ring any professional help where you're gonna get that. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Where you can actually, like, you're gonna sit in front of a professional, and like you say, like, you might feel judged. They might not have experience in that. They've never gone through that themselves. And I think talking to someone that's actually done that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're feeling suicidal and you went to Tyler or you went to yourself that's actually experienced that, I don't think you can really replicate that anywhere else, really.
Do you think that since then that you've sort of had that little switch of, fuck me, I'm not the only one?
Yeah, and it has helped.
You get a sense of relief.
It comes and goes. I had a meltdown last weekend, like big time. And my wife, like, she was like, you need to snap out of it. Like, you stop thinking this all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, not in a horrible way. It's just, it grinds me down. So I still have the moment. So I don't think it will ever go away. And the guy who's got the same issue with me he said the same. Like, he'll go through, like, he might have a year and he might not do it. And then it will come back and he'll start Googling stuff and stuff. I probably need to talk to someone about it. But from when was it? Probably 2-3 months ago, every night I'd lay in bed and I'd have an anxiety attack or panic attack in bed because of these things, and it would build up. Since I spoke to him, and we've gone through like coping mechanisms of it and understand it a little bit more. I've not had, touch wood, I've not had one since in bed. So
talking about coping mechanisms quickly. So if someone's watching this who does have them thoughts. And they haven't found someone who goes through the same, like you've had that someone, so it's become a bit easier to talk about. What sort of things would you suggest to them? What sort of things help you?
So now, not like knowing that person and there's someone else out there, when you feel like you've got a problem and you feel like you're on your own, you think that it's the biggest problem in the world. And as the podcast says, and the title of it, sharing it with someone else is such a big thing. Yeah. And it sounds stupid, and everyone else says, it takes a weight off your shoulder. It actually did. I came home from that and I was buzzing, absolutely buzzing, like in a weirdest way. And with that now, it's like when I'm having them thoughts, I think of that person, not in a weird way, but just think like he's been through that or he's going through that. Ride with it. It's fine. Like everything's all right. Like just relax, deep breaths, whatever it might be. started doing like CBD oil. I just started doing things. It's like, well, you know, I'm not the fittest person in the world. That's been a lot of my stuff with the mental health, is like letting myself get to that point. So now it's like, well, actually, if you're worried about your health, like make a difference about it. So like try and do like ice baths in the morning or cold showers in the morning. Like I'm trying to be more active all the time. Just silly little things like that. You actually be surprised how much it changes your mindset. Even just going for a dog walk, getting 10,000 steps in.
Like now I'll get a thrill out going for a nice walk, taking the dog out. And I'll find myself just chatting the dog's ear off.
It's the weirdest things can be a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
and I think that's something that, like, when people say do these things, get out for a walk, like it does help.
Yeah, 100%. So listen, I fucking loved this. I loved this one.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good for the first one. The first one we've done, this is, and I've loved it. What do you think of this setup anyway?
It's alright, isn't it?
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I built this.
Did you?
Nah. But listen, Mel, I wish you all the best for the Great South Run. Obviously, I'm going to see you before. I would say I'll be at the finishing line, but I'll probably go about halfway.
You'll be in bed by then, mate.
I'll probably go halfway.
Yeah, them road sweepers with the machines, I'll be whizzing around underneath one of them.
But thank you, mate. And hopefully this will reach someone and give them the help that they need.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you very much, mate.
No worries.
Cheers.